up.
Yo sé que estoy expuesto a que me arresten, pero aquí traigo mis documentos.
I'll likely be targeted and arrested, says Huntington Park resident Alfredo Reyes. He tells me in Spanish that he now carries multiple forms of ID on him, including his green card, even for a quick walk around the neighborhood, thinking federal authorities might confuse him as being undocumented. His fears have escalated, especially after what unfolded Tuesday. City leaders announcing the arrest of Fernando Diaz, accused of impersonating an ICE officer.
Prompted serious concern about public safety, impersonation of federal agents.
They say the suspect's Dodge Durango had law enforcement type lights, and inside copies of passports, federal enforcement style documents, cell phones, and a loaded firearm.
What this individual was doing with those items remains under investigation. But the presence of law enforcement style equipment without any verified authority raises serious concerns.
Police were first drawn to the vehicle, parked in a handicapped spot with no visible placard.
When further questioned, the individual claimed he previously worked for Customs and Border Protection. However, he could produce no valid credentials to validate that.
According to FresnoCriminalLawyer.com. Do police need to identify themselves when asked? Law enforcement officers have certain fundamental obligations to maintain when interacting with the public they serve, but, legally, do police need to identify themselves when asked during an encounter? People should be able to confirm the identity of a law enforcement officer in order to ensure that they are genuinely authorized to perform their duties. But the right to know the identity of a police officer during an interaction stems from the basic principles of transparency and accountability rather than actual law. Neither California nor federal law explicitly mandates that officers must identify themselves. However, several factors are involved in the issue and should be considered.
We begin with the arrest of a man accused of impersonating a federal agent. It's raising new fears tonight and concerns over public safety.
Officials have been sounding the alarm as armed, masked federal agents detain suspected undocumented immigrants across Southern California in unmarked vehicles. KTLA's Carlos Saucedo live in Huntington Park, where the arrest was made, and why officials believe others could be out there. Carlos.
Micah, Court, good evening. The immigrant community is already on edge because of these ICE raids. Now they have to deal with possible fake ICE agents following an arrest here in Huntington Park. Tonight, there's growing fears that there could be copycats. With ongoing ICE raids, many people are living in fear that they or one of their loved ones could be snatched up.
But the presence of law enforcement style equipment without any verified authority raises serious concerns.
Police were first drawn to the vehicle, parked in a handicapped spot with no visible placard.
When further questioned, the individual claimed he previously worked for Customs and Border Protection. However, he could produce no valid credentials to validate that.
This follows weeks of unrest amid highly controversial ICE raids across the state and country. Many question the tactics by agents who often cover their faces and don't properly identify themselves to the community.
Who are these people? And frankly, the vests that they're wearing look a lot like they were ordered on Amazon. Are they bounty hunters? Are they vigilantes?
Now, the city recently passed a resolution.
According to university officials and the Philadelphia Police Department, one of the two students, Aiden Steigelman, 22, was arrested and charged with impersonating an officer, the police said. A third person, who was described as a former student who is no longer affiliated with the university, also joined the two students. The episode was recorded by one of the three people involved, the university said. It was not clear what had happened inside the dessert shop.
The question that was asked is, why are they making it so difficult? And the only conclusion that I can draw from this very intentional blurring of the lines is that it's supposed to be, that it's intentional, that the panic and confusion and misinformation is the point. And to the previous video that was alerting women to the dangers out there, who talked about how they're